Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where last episode we got around the question of Enoch Drebber's motive from the prosecution for now by declaring an accomplice must have been somehow involved in the death of Olizandri, with Leonosuke declaring to the court that the chief coroner and head of the forensics investigation team called Deciphered must have been the assistant, and then declaring that the second person in a birdcage that day was the waxwork of the professor, prompting Barak von Zieks to point out our leaps in logic to cause the jury to declare a guilty verdict. We now fight back with a summation examination having changed the mind of two jurors after finding a link between the professor 10 years ago and Courtney Sy, thanks to the old autopsy report written in her maiden name, and now look to place the waxwork of the scene having just presented the glass shard found within its clothes.
What's that? A piece of glass? Those unusually thick for glass?
Yes, it's a piece of broken glass that we found inside the jacket on the waxwork. As you say, it's not ordinary glass though. It's very thick and clearly made for extra strength. Much like the special glass that was developed for the construction of the Crystal Tower.
The Crystal Tower? Holy smoke!
Exactly. The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition, where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through a window of that special glass.
From whence this small piece originated? Is that it?
Precisely. So, what do you say? Now that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you.
Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule. However, when the reasoning is sound, it's fair to say colour shouldn't come into it. In light of what you've shown me here, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter. In that case, juror number 4, you will amend your statement now, please. The presence of that piece of glass leaves me in little doubt that the waxwork was indeed inside that birdcage.
Hold it! Shall I press it? Thank you for reconsidering your position, sir.
Your words are misplaced, boy. My opinion is governed by logic and science and nothing else. Yes, science is where you should direct your words of gratitude.
Ah.
What's the matter with you? Too good to say some words of thanks to the mother of all academic subjects?
What is it about scientists? Honestly. Accusing someone without right evidence is not a proper job, is he? I won't have it. It's not a proper job, is he? Yeah, no, it's not. No. But still, I think then, because we've now got a statement about evidence, that you might be led by that if we pit. But first, let's press.
Hold it!
I've got to ask, why have you brought that corn into court with you?
Ah, the real answers.
Colonel Cobb, he's been grown back on the farm. Picked him off on my way into town. He's a proper nibbler, he is. Yes, the nibbling seems to be taking quite a while. Maybe it could wait until after the trial? Oh, I don't like the sound of that. You need colonels at times like these. Whenever I have something big to decide, the colonels always point me in the right direction, see?
Colonels?
You're talking about your cob of corn. Nibble, nobble, guilty bubble, nibble, not guilty out. 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 Perhaps it's akin to fortune-telling with flower petals like people do back home. So, Professor Harebrain's fate is to be decided by a cob of corn. Could you not at least wait until we've had more time to find the truth before deciding on the defendant's guilt? Oh, I don't know about that. Me tum's awfully full already. Amazing. Amazing. I know it seems a little far-fetched to think that the waxwork model of the professor was in that birdcage, but on the other hand, it explains a lot. If there really is a reason why that particular waxwork had to be used as Mr. Asmund's double, we must do everything we can to make the jurors understand it. The truth is, I'm sure that's the key to this, but it's the most puzzling part of it too. In that case, you should see what additional information you can glean whilst trying to change the jurors' minds. If you can read a book whilst eating a rice cracker, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm sure you can do this.
Right, yes. Multitasking. Alright, let's pit. You, evidence man, versus you,
I haven't got proper evidence.
Objection.
Should be okay. Dear Colonel, those two statements clearly contradict each other. I mean, they're opposites, sure, but...
Oh, good gracious. Two statements you refer, Counsel.
If you could put down your corn for a moment, juror number 5. Oh, you mean me? You pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence. But the accusation that the Waxwork model was inside the second birdcage on the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the defense demonstrated to the juror sitting beside you. Oh, is that right? Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument? I don't understand much besides Colonel Cobb, to be honest. Of course you don't.
If I could interject here.
Please do, sir.
Now this assertion of yours about the waxwork has been backed up by some solid evidence. It would be wrong of me as a man of science not to pursue the matter further.
Oh, why didn't you do that before? Ah, well, me too then. Sorry? This brainy gentleman says he's right, then he must be. See, I wouldn't dream of going against Colonel Cobb or anyone who's got stuff in between the ears. Should use that fire to make popcorn. Success! If you can call it that.
Thank you, Counsel. That will do. As a result of the summation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. 2 jurors now called guilty, against 4 who called not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus at this time. And the trial must continue.
We did it! You're always surprised, but you haven't lost one yet. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Another wonderful victory.
A waxwork of the despicable professor. Used as a body double for the victim in this quite extraordinary case. I must say, it's extremely hard to believe the assertion could possibly be true. However, it would appear that it does at least warrant further investigation.
It's the waxwork of the professor that links Mr. Drebber and Dr. Sive. And I'm convinced that there's a special significance to that link.
I don't know what you're hoping to prove, lad. I really don't.
The truth, sir. By using evidence and testimony.
Huh. If the court is to delve deeper into the alleged involvement of the waxwork in this case, then the prosecution calls for the owner of the model to be summoned as a witness. The owner?
Madame Tusspells. I really thought that Lord Van Zieks would object to this whole line of inquiry.
Very well, I concur. Make arrangements for Madame Tusspells to appear as a witness with immediate effect.
Listen carefully, my learned friend. Oh, yes?
You should know that you're on the brink of opening Pandora's box. The court shall now adjourn for 45 minutes. During that time, the prosecution will summon the new witness and prepare her for taking the stand.
Madame Tusspells, yes. I shall see to it at once, my lord. And so, to be continued. Should I end the episode? No, I'm kidding. Let's continue on. Madame Tusspells. It's interesting because now we're getting into like the other side of the case. The side of the investigation that was as far away from possible from the actual murder investigation as it was. With this being by far the most important part of it. Which is crazy. So on the 24th of October, we continue on. Are we going to speak to our professor? Or is Madame Tusspells here? Ah, the knight errant himself! Oh, have you been watching from the gallery, Mr. Sholmes?
I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time. Courtroom trials are fascinating affairs, as a spectator at least. I'm glad you've been enjoying yourself.
I have to ask. What on earth is going on? It makes no sense! What's this professor business all about? He doesn't look like any professor I've ever met before. Who even is he?
Ah, of course. You were in Germany already 10 years ago. Yes, the professor. When I discovered he was the one who had been abducted, a sense of foreboding stirred within me. But who knew the monster would come knocking at your door? My heartfelt sympathies. Ha 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 ha! As it turns out, Lord Van Zieks is even more intimately tied to this case than any of us realized, isn't he?
Yes, how true. His great friend from university in the dock.
And now a waxwork of the killer who took his esteemed brother's life makes an appearance too. I imagine even the shrewd Mr. Reaper failed to foresee that kick in the teeth. An extraordinary move on your part, my dear fellow, to throw that in front of the man. You make it sound deliberate.
I can't help feeling that this professor case is really very puzzling.
Oh yes? In what particular manner?
Well, there's Mr. Drebber, Dr. Sive, and Lord Van Zieks. It seems that everybody in the trial has a link to the case somehow.
Yes. In fact, I alone am not a member of the set. Though that leaves me as an empty set, all alone, with no intersection to any other. Excuse me? Dr. Sive! Ah, Dr. Courtney Sive, niece Stevens. Good day to you.
Hello, Sholmes. That was very shrewd of you.
What in particular, pray?
You requested that 10-year-old autopsy report from Gregson, didn't you?
Why would you assume such a thing?
Because Gregson told me. To think it's been 10 years. 10 years in the laboratory, wielding my scalpel. I smell of nothing but corpses and disinfectant.
A policeman on the jury had a lot to say about you, as it happens, Dr. Sive. And I've accused you of being complicit in what happened. I'm hoping that you'll take the stand and tell the truth about what really happened.
That certainly won't be possible. Lord Van Zieks won't be summoning me as a witness.
Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart?
The Pandora's box you were warned about is the Professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. But attempting to hide from the truth, that's cowardice. I've always fought crime in the way that I see fit. I have no regrets, none at all. And that's all I came here to say. So, good day to you.
She mentioned it too, this Pandora's box.
Whatever does it all mean?
There's really no cause for concern, I assure you. When the trial resumes, the meaning will become all too apparent, whether you would like it to or not. Huh? Now then, I believe it's almost time. I must make my way back to the public gallery. The edge of my seat awaits. I think maybe you're enjoying yourself a little too much. Ah yes, one word of warning before I go. If in the course of the trial this afternoon you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. To the bitter end, you understand? Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. All right, I understand. Thank you. Good. I shall make myself scarce then. I purchased a bar of caramel earlier, so I shall be gnawing on that as you gnaw away at the truth. Okay, bye, Mr. Agenda. What did that warning from Mr. Sholmes really mean, I wonder? Especially the bit about whatever may come to pass.
It's time for the final chapter then. I'm determined to find the truth, no matter what.
So, on the 24th of October at 12:40 p.m.
Back in the Old Bailey courtroom, we continue our trial.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready and able to continue? The prosecution is ready, my lord.
Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready.
As the court is aware, the case under our scrutiny began with a damaging incident at the Great Exhibition. Yet we now find ourselves embroiled in the details of a convicted felon who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. This trial has certainly defied all expectation.
As seems to be the fate of all trials in which this Nipponese is involved, my lord.
And so then, let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the Waxworks was cardinally involved in this matter. Lord Van Zieks.
My lord?
Are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Tusspells?
Not at all. She is in the antechamber as we speak and ready to be summoned.
Very well. Bring in the witnesses.
Witness, even. At once, my lord.
Bailiff, show Madame Tusspells to the stand.
Things are about to become a lot more intense. If Drebber is responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have had an accomplice in Dr. Seif. And what connects the pair of them is the waxwork. Yes, the model of the Professor. That's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tenuous link, admittedly, but at present it's all we have to go on.
State your name and occupation for the court, please.
My name is Madame Esmeralda Tusspells. I am a waxwork artisan and the proprietress of the Madame Tusspells Museum of Waxwork. You will have to pardon me for working as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon. It's me! Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he?
Now there are two of them in the world.
Oh my! What expression is she carving onto that face?
A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this?
Oui, that is true. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped.
A waxwork model? Kidnapped?
Yes, my lord. There was a demand for ransom money left behind by the culprit. However, according to what I have just been told outside the courtroom, that was not the true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim.
At present, that is no more than conjecture proposed by the defense. This is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Odiasman.
But of course, I know him well. He is a part of my Odious Personages exhibit. I detest to say that what is evident, but Mr. Asman does not resemble the Professor at all. Yes, but perhaps their faces are very similar. Are you suggesting that we should see now the demasked visage of the Professor? I have here the key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock.
This is absurd.
Pardon?
I don't know what face you've carved onto your fancy figure beneath that mask. But clearly, it won't be that of the actual killer. Indeed. The man's identity was never made public after all. The trial took place in a closed court. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was summarily executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. There is no possible way that a repository of tawdry exhibits could get its hands on that information.
Quel dommage. It would seem you are unaware of the Tusspells principles. What principles? The family Tusspells has always prided itself on sculpting its models à la perfection. Every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity. Et voila, our principles. There is a well-known legend about the Spells Waxworks from the time of the French Revolution. A member of the Tusspells family is said to have made a waxwork of the queen who was executed. Oui, that is true. It was a century ago now. I believe the queen's face was carved in the minutes following her death, actually at the guillotine site. You are correct. The model is on display still today in the House of Horrors. We Tusspells will stop at nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects.
And hear me, a somewhat disturbing tenacity of purpose.
It is the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of the subject. And it has been my family's secret for generations.
Do you mean to say that beneath that mask?
Oui, the true visage of the killer is there.
This is ludicrous. It's out of the question.
The professor spread terror throughout Great Britain. As a result, the Madame Tusspells special exhibit remains extremely popular even today. The killer emerging from his own grave, it is a sight to behold. You should come.
I think, Madame, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You will explain every detail of this macabre model and your personal involvement in its creation.
With pleasure.
The Professor Waxwork.
The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumour that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse in accordance with Tusspells' family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mould for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered.
The gravedigger. The man sanctioned this?
Oui, I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knew, only the gravedigger. What harm did it do, huh?
You truly saw it. The face of that monster.
Naturally, I was aware at the time that his identity was a secret. The Tusspells would not be Tusspells if we did not insist on absolute fidelity to our sculptures.
I don't believe this. I myself have seen the special exhibit at your museum, Madame. A truly blood-curdling scene in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave.
The scene it depicts was the subject of many rumours in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time. The special exhibit was based upon the picture in this article. It was the most detailed account of what happened, as reported by the eyewitness who saw it.
The 10-year-old article has been entered into the court record. Was the Bal Mascouk to blame for the great blaze? Man rises from the grave. It's too absurd for words.
The public enjoy absurdity, monsieur. That is why I've reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum. And it's a waxwork from that exhibit that was stolen some days before the incident at the Great Exhibition, wasn't it? That is correct. The professor you see before you here.
Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination.
This waxwork links Drebber to Dr. Scythe. And there has to be some reason for that, which hasn't yet come to light. But I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Scythe and Drebber were in on this crime together. But first, before we cross-examine the Professor Waxwork, we need to check out this new piece of evidence, don't we? So was the Bolmus... It's actually, properly written as well. The fire that engulfed the popular theatre continues to draw attention as reports that Her Majesty Queen Victoria herself visited the Royal Italian Opera to inspect the site and offer words of condolences to the theatre's owner, Mr. Frederick Guy. The theatre had been under lease to a famed magician John Henry Anderson, and there is some speculation that the blame for the fire lies squarely with him for his insistence on holding his bull mask there. Could his magical tricks have played a trick on him, costing the city a great centre for the arts? The investigation into the true cause is expected to continue into next month, if not beyond, according to our sources. This is actually amazing that they've actually got lots of random stuff.
Mad sheep rampage, for example, down here. Unexplained phenomenon grips Oxfordshire region. Locals reported a most remarkable circumstance which folded sheep were seized with a sudden fright and leapt from their fears and pens. What? Charles Darwin's to receive the Copley Medal as well? Got the great stink. Parliament is finally address the foul issue. After a great many years, Parliament has at long last resolved to relieve the citizens of London of the horrifying stench that carries on the slightest breeze and lingers in the nostrils of every man, woman and child. A great sewer system to be built underfoot that will divert fecal matter that likes away from the river and stuff. Currently, there's actually a thing going on with that in Britain currently, weirdly. Anyway, rises from the grave. We've got the executed criminal returns in the dead of night at a local cemetery. The young man who witnessed the scene was on the verge of raising a shriek when in the next second a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. The bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest, whose breath then stilled once more. What the hell? The youth then finally released the scream he had been holding and ran for his life. So technically, someone killed him. What? Also, the newly interred professor forced off his own grave cover? The university student who experienced this shocking event is Mr. Enoch Drebber, a disciple of science at the University of London and a resident of his student dorms. This is crazy. Just looking at it. Oh my god. And after being distracted by all the text on this paper, exactly matched too. Drawing by Odie Asman. Crazy. Well, I was distracted so long that I didn't even see the actual thing. Should we begin the Professor Waxwork?
A special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumour that shocked society in London.
Hold it!
And that rumour would be a 10-year-old tale now, but one that no Londoner would ever forget.
Alright, I know just what you're talking about, I think.
Of course, it couldn't be anything else.
Yes, that story will never disappear.
The tale of the condemned killer rising from the dead. That is the central attraction of my House of Horrors. The rumour was whispered all over the city, and it was like this. It was in Lowgate Cemetery behind the prison in the dead of night after the execution of the killer. The interred professor slid back the stone slab covering his tomb and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream welling up inside of him. But an instant later, he heard an ear-splitting gunshot from over his shoulder. The bullet struck the emerging corpse, and he fell motionless once more. The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness, who turned and ran for his life.
The corpse climbed out of his own grave.
And then somebody shot him. Who? Who was it? Nobody knows, even today. But remember, it was just a rumor, perhaps nothing more than a ghost story. The good people of London, they love stories like this. That is why it was in every newspaper across the capital.
But was it just a story? I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today at your museum, isn't it?
The special exhibit was modelled on that very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of that article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable. Madame, might I say something? Please go ahead, mademoiselle. When something is described as a rumour, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entirely made up. I believe that often rumours contain elements of the truth. I see that people from the East can be just as astute as the people of Europe. Can we be sure, for instance, that the professor's execution was successful? It is not possible for the dead to come back to life.
Sorry?
10 years ago, I was there in Lowgate Cemetery. After the criminal known as the Professor was killed by hanging, I took a wax impression of his visage from the corpse just before it was interred. So I can assure you, the man was dead.
I see. It would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate.
But then, that only leaves one line of thinking. If the dead man was dead, but there was an alive man that came out the grave, who was the alive man that came out the grave, who is now dead and therefore murdered? Is this a future case, or is this our case now, or is this not that? Only time will tell, because we continue on with this testimony next time on the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where basically we just get opened up to even more intrigue as the game's whole storyline continues to head towards its end. I think we're seeing where a lot of the threads are going at this point, but hopefully you'll join me next time to see even more of those threads unwind or appear. We'll see. I'll see you then for more. Bye-bye.